So Rachel, what happened is the focus of this location is one of the Canadian Rocky Mountains.
Oh,
Okay, and it's called Turtle Mountain.
okay.
And there was a coal mining operation that was taking place. They mined right, instead of like your typical, let's go underground and dig down. They mined right into the mountain for the coal.
Oh, okay.
And what happened was the mining operations weakened the structure of the mountain, and the entire east face of this 7,000-foot mountain
Came down.
broke loose and avalanched down in this landslide, wiping out the mining town that was at its base.
Including the mine.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's pretty
That's so
spectacular. If
sad.
you go online after and look at the pictures, because that's what I was doing while Ian was talking. I was looking at and it's shocking. The rocks, the boulders are so big. They're bigger than houses. They're bigger than a train that's passing through the middle. Like they're huge, right? So there was just no chance for survival with that.
How sad is that? Oh my God.
Rachel's dog is visiting us.
It went very noisy in my house, so I pressed the mute button for a minute there. I apologize. It's a house of dogs here.
Dogs and dogs. They will be. But so Ian was saying that during his visit there, they have a museum now, or a sort of an information. I guess it is a museum of sorts, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they have, so you can go.
It's an interpretive center.
Interpretive center.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what hauntings are sort of associated with this, Ian? Was there anything that you came across while you were? I mean, I know when you were there, you said you didn't actually come across any hauntings, but is there any talk of hauntings at this location that you know of? No.
So for myself, I assume it's just the energy that still resides from the event itself. That you had this town wiped out. You had all these people killed, who are still there, buried underneath all these gigantic boulders.
Yeah,
the miners that were killed in the mine when it avalanched. Well, there's got to be some kind of paranormal.
I'm sure, if we went to Frank's slide and did some kind of paranormal investigation there, I'm sure there's some stories that would want to come forward and be told, right? I suspect that there's stories at these locations that...
Oh, absolutely.
That some people may have picked up on, some people maybe not. I don't know. I'm not speaking for everyone. I just speak for myself. But normal investigators, like I said, I've never had the opportunity to investigate a mine.
No, nor have I.
It does intrigue me. I will say.
I would like to.
I am intrigued. So, Rachel, when we go on our tour of the south of England, we'll have to wrap around and go visit a couple of these locations.
Yes, we will.
And, check out some of these old tin mines and that. But I'm sure, too, like you were going to say, Ian, you should mention cobalt then, because that's in Ontario. And
oh, yes.
That's got some stories tied to it. That one I do know. I have heard the stories for cobalt. So,
yeah. Well, Cobalt is it's a tiny little town way up in northern Ontario.
Yes, it is.
Probably about 500 kilometers from where I am here in Hamilton. In the early 1900s, I think it was somewhere around 1908, 1910, somewhere around there. Silver was discovered.
Yes.
In the Cobalt region. And again, this mining town just grew overnight because Cobalt became the Yukon gold rush of Canada. And everybody was going up there to try to seek their fame and fortune in mining silver.
Yes.
And all through the world, everybody had suddenly heard about cobalt. You couldn't pick up a newspaper
without talking about cobalt.
Knowing about cobalt. And because of this, everybody rushed up there, started digging mine shafts and mine tunnels. And
Yeah, it was a little crazy when it first started
yeah,
out.
and there are I don't know, dozens of miles of
Tunnels.
mine
Yeah, mining
shafts
tunnels,
all underneath the town.
wow.
And um, it's so much so that back in the 1980s, but the mid 80s, the main road that comes into Cobalt off of Highway 11 that goes up
Mhm.
there, that main road into town actually caved in because the mine shaft that was underneath the road collapsed. And so
Wow.
they they advertised it as like the world's biggest pothole.
Okay. Actually,
Oh no.
my uncle lives super close to Cobalt.
Oh, does he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in Temiskaming Shores. So yeah.
And yeah, so Trudy and I went up there about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
I'd heard about Cobalt and I wanted to go up and investigate. And unfortunately, it was about this time, a little earlier. It was March, April, quite reasonable here in Hamilton. Um, Much like we have outside the window today, it was, I don't know, 10 degrees, raining.
Okay. Not the
Up
best
north,
weather.
you go 500 kilometers up north, there was
Right.
still 3 feet of snow on the ground. And we couldn't do a thing. We got up there and it was like, there's no way. It was like minus 40 and 3 feet
Wow.
of snow. And it was brutal up there.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
And my
And,
uncle loves it
and
up there.
I've had people, I've told this
Sounds
before, and I've
cold.
even said,
There
you
was
went
snow up there last
in the
weekend.
winter? And I went, well, yeah, because it was the only time I had available to do it, and I had to make a decision. Do I go or do I not go? So we went. So in terms of our paranormal investigation, nothing resulted from
Oh.
from a serious investigation, but just like with Turtle Mountain and Frank Slide,
Hmm.
you go up there and you can just feel the energy
Wow.
coming from this location. And when you go into the town, there's this mining building that's
Right.
right on the
Okay.
outside of
I know
town.
the type you mean with like the big tower and the.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what
And
they're called though.
and that's what I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what those buildings are called at the
No,
moment.
me neither.
But in behind this building, again, it's like there are so many crisscrossing mine shafts and mine tunnels that all these miners just went through the Cobalt area.
Right.
This entire area in behind, big circular area, completely collapsed down into the ground. This
Wow.
huge crater there now. And it's sort of become a tourist attraction. There's a viewing platform, and you can look down, and this thing probably goes down, I don't know, 100 feet, 150 feet,
Wow.
just collapsed into the ground. And where it's all sheared off, you can see the mine tunnels,
Hmm.
extending into the ground, moving on. And
Very cool.
it's something to see. But as I say,
Yeah, I
you
know
go there,
too that
and you can feel the energy of, it had all these people there. I'm sure some of the ghost stories, they center around not the mines themselves, but the buildings in the town.
yes, yeah.
But there had to have been attacks and murders. It's like, well, I'm taking your claim.
Yeah.
This is now my mine shaft. It's interesting history.
Well, and two, there's interesting too, because like I said, my uncle, he just moved up there. He bought a house a year ago now up in Temiskaming Shores. And so he used to talk about it because he used to go up there. What's it called?
The building, they're called head frames.
Head frames. Okay.
Head frame buildings. That's what they're
Head
called.
frames. There
Yeah.
you go. That makes sense.
You
Yeah.
got that.
Yeah. So interesting because I remember him telling me about up there, and I'm not sure if it's cobalt exactly, but he was talking about there's a mine up there, and my cousin was saying it's called the right of way mine, I think is what it was, and it was actually
That's in
people were
Cobalt.
trapped in it. Is it in
That's in
cobalt? Okay,
Cobalt.
yeah, because
Yeah.
there were people that were trapped in the shafts, and yeah, and the building still stands. That what do they call it? Head frame? The
Head
head
frame.
frame building over
frame,
top
yeah.
of the mine. Yeah, but apparently tunnels collapsed and people died down in there. And apparently the Fraser Hotel is also haunted in Cobalt.
Yeah. Well, my
The-
friend Andrew Hind.
What makes it haunted? Do you know?
It says there's a troubled man lingering in the hotel. So who knows? Until
Oh.
we go up to Cobalt and find out.
There's
Or-
something
or-
about hotels that seem to be haunted.
You can go up to Cobalt,
Yeah.
or you can buy. My friend and author Andrew Hind has written a book about
Oh, did he?
Oh, I think I'll have to
the
read
ghosts and
that.
haunting of Cobalt.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go.
And I'll give it a little plug. It's called Silver and Ghosts.
Silver and Ghosts. Okay.
And
That's
it,
interesting.
it talks about all of the hauntings that are in that Cobalt area, in the
You
hotels,
must
the
talk
buildings,
about the
the
hotel
mines.
then. Yeah, he must. They probably talks about that hotel. My uncle was telling me about it. My uncle is also able to sense the things beyond. So we often talk about all of those types of things quite frequently. My mother will have a barbecue and my uncle and I will sit and talk about paranormal stuff all the time because he also feels it. But yeah, he's up that way now too, right? So I'll have to get my mom to ask him about Cobalt and see what he reports back, and then we can talk about it on another show.